Question 11. Ivan is a shot putter, and the formula h equals 2 plus 12t minus 3t squared gives the height h in meters of the shot above the ground t seconds after he released the shot. Part A. Solve this quadratic equation here where we have the height is 0. We've set this right hand side equal to 0. Give your solutions correct to one decimal place and show your workings clearly. So the fact that we have been asked to give our solutions to so many decimal places of significant figures is a big clue that this is not going to be able to factorize, which means we need to use, or the main way of solving this will be to use the quadratic formula. There is another way of solving this, but the quadratic formula would be the one that's most common, so that's the one I'm going to show here. So, for using the quadratic formula, we need our quadratic equation in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, of course, for the purposes of this, we are using t squareds and t's, so that part's not tricky. But the part that might be tricky is to make sure that we identify what a, b, and c are correctly. So a is the number that's the coefficient of x squared, or stuck to x squared. B is the number that's stuck to the x, or the t term in this case, and c is the number that's left over. 2 is our number that's left over, as it were. 12 is our b, is the number that's stuck to t, and a minus 3 is what a is. So I'm going to make a note of these right now. A is minus 3, b is 12, and c is 2. And that's handy for making a note of, because we're about to substitute them into a very complicated looking formula, which you're given in the front of the formula sheet. I quote it there just to show where all of these are getting substituted into. In fact, I'm going to highlight this as well. So a is minus 3. When I substitute minus 3, and I need to make sure that I'm careful to use brackets because it's negative. In fact, it's not a bad habit to do this with every single number that you substitute in, but especially negatives. B is 12 and c is 2, which will, when I substitute all of these numbers in, give us the following. I'm going to have a minus 12, I'm just going to put it in brackets actually, I've decided, plus or minus the square root of 12 squared, minus 4 times a negative 3 times a 2, all over 2 lots of a, which is 2 lots of negative 3. Now, you can type that into your calculator as is. You just need to be aware that you're going to get two answers here. The first one is going to come with a plus. So when you use your plus 1, you're going to get an x answer of negative 0.2. And when we do this with a minus, we're going to get an x answer of 4.2. In fact, I should actually say what it was before it was rounded, because this question does have a bit of rounding. So we end up with minus 0.1602 and change. And when we use a negative, we're going to get x equals 4.1602 and change. And then lastly, what I kind of already started to do there, I wanted it to one decimal place, which means each of these numbers needs to be rounded at the line I'm showing, which is going to give us x is minus 0.2 and x is 4.2 as our two answers. Next part, the shot hits the ground after t seconds. Work out or write down the value of t. Now for a wee 1 marker like this, there's not going to be that much to do, and it's basically a common sense link between what our answers were from the previous question, which of course should be t's, not x's, from what our answers were here and the context of the question. So what this is saying is that after 0.2 seconds in the past, the ball was on the ground, or 4.2 seconds in the future, the ball was in the ground. Which one is what the answer we're looking for? Well, the minus 0.2 seconds, or the t is minus 0.2, is in the past, whereas the 4.2 seconds where it hit the ground is in the future. Given that he's thrown the ball and it hits the ground later, 4.2 seconds is our answer for t.